voice was unique and individual and amazing, but actually, it wasn't just Todd. It was the rebel spell. It was a whole fucking band of people. You know, Aaron and Steffa and Travis and Elliot and Chris and Evan and everybody who played with them. That's what made Todd's voice have the power that it had. So I'm gonna read this poem, and this is for Todd, but this is for the rebels. Okay, it's called A Handful of Matches.
Whatever, I don't know.
Do you remember where you were and how it felt? The first time that you fell beneath the sonic onslaught of the rebel spell? I do. I was alone, at home, up to my wrists in soapy water, days of rage, cranked loud to ease the drudgery of doing dishes. And I remember the way that it made me cry. That's not very punk, I know. The sunlight through the dirty trailer window making rainbows in the suds. And then the chugga 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 chug guitar that opens Bring 'Em In. The drums, the bass, all good. I felt the boost I'm always looking for in kick-ass music. And then Todd threw down that first line like a phosphorescent flare. I was in a room, it was beautiful.
This is something.
Split-second glimpse, a horde of sweaty bodies bouncing shoulder off to shoulder, crazy grins, fist-pumping air. What? Who does that? Who drops a word like beautiful, uncynical, unsmirking in the first line of a record that's titled Days of Rage? I was standing staring at the speakers, hands dripping water on my slippers, damp tea towel on my shoulder, thinking, what? Fear's what stops us, hatred stops us, pride can stop us, weakness stops us, something. What? Hands wiped half, dry on pants ass, fumbling for the lyric sheet. Share the ideal, live the way you feel. This is crazy. I'm struggling to catch my breath halfway through the next song. That was Rebels Sing. He hits that, will they be forgotten? No, I don't think so. And tears are in my eyes, while in my chest, a voice I haven't heard for years is chanting, yes, yes, yes. I didn't get the dishes done that day. And a few days later, when I told Todd that his songs had made me cry, he looked a little nervous. In fact, I saw his eyes dart side to side like he was scoping his escape route. But I pressed on, gushing, both of us a little bit embarrassed, though I think he understood. I think he got that I had heard, that I had listened. And even though I'm more of a bushed out would-be poet than a punk, there was a time, the Clash, the Kennedys, angelic upstarts, Crass, when music full of rage and energy and thought had changed, had maybe even saved my life. And I thought that flame was extinguished by the wine of industry-promoted mediocrity until I turned the page. Until I heard, I felt, I fell beneath the rebel spell. Still, no one knows how many nights you spent, Todd, scribbling and scratching out in restless search of words that sizzled into flame when struck. How many thoughts you scraped a light across the page to watch them hiss and fizzle in the puddles of indifferent East Van alleys pocked with rain. 4:30 a.m. and though you still hadn't slept, you kept on scraping, striking, tossing flames into the night until a blue bronze skim of gasoline ignited and a song blazed into life. to light the eager faces of your band, words coming faster now, a rain of sparks, and then guitar, guitar, guitar! A handful of matches suddenly becomes a handheld grinder cutting steel. The lock shank almost through, so that the booted foot of your conviction could kick wide the gates of corporate co-option, and the messy energy of raw punk rock could bust free from the penitentiary of Target Market malls once more. You and your crew, a bunch of kids from a tiny fort in a tattered tree, now storming through the streets and hurling Molotovs of meaning. Drum crash, kicking holes in mental fences. Bass breaking chains. Guitar igniting and uniting. Voice and mind aflame. I tell you, I could smell the hope. And yes, it's only music, but you had us listening. You cranked the volume, brought the rage up, kicked the gates right off their fucking hinges, Todd. So when you thrust your mic into the sweat and beer-soaked air above the friendly jeers and shit talk of the Cobalt, of the Moose Hall, of the countless dives and squats and bars in Montreal, in Moncton, Potsdam, Dublin, or Saskatchewan, and called for voices, 1,000 voices. Could you hear us? Whether we were 2 or 20 or 200, rowdy drunks in small town plaid or apeshit kids in skate shoes moshing 3 feet off the floor, the aging punks, the urchin thieves, the hoodied, patched, and hungry for a taste of meaning tribe who rallied to the torch you held aloft and shouted back your songs. An unkempt chorus in a joyful rage, their fists and faces lifted, giving back the sulfur blaze your words became.
Yes!
Could you shut the fuck up just for a second? Thanks. You spoke to us. You owned your fear. You just stood up when no gambler would take those odds. And every Rebel Spell show I saw was too short. It always seemed to end too soon. Too soon, we'd be back out on the street with ringing ears, exhausted and exhilarated, blinking as the rain came down in gentle silver curtains through the street lamp glow. And you'd be there among us, hands in hoodie pockets with the slightest smile tugging at the corners of your mouth. Just Todd. No vanity, no bullshit posturing, a level gaze, a quick sardonic laugh, and underneath it all a pure and gentle heart of gold. They say that friction with the atmosphere consumes the falling star. They say the brightest lights burn briefest, and they say a lot of things that fail to soothe the cold, sick wrench of loss that tears away a love, a brother, or a friend. No word that anyone can utter has the power to erase the hard, bleak landscape of a heartfelt grief. Yet still, we yearn, we search, we reach for hope, for courage, and we find it. Now in silence, now in tears, a cactus flower blooming in the desert after rain. The way the pain becomes a bond that draws the left behind together like a needle pushing ink into the skin. Todd gave us extra. Something more than just his too brief life. He left his words, his songs, his homemade matches. So here, I've gathered some to strike and toss like living flames into the night. Fight for the sun, my bold friends. Fight for the sun. This night will end. I promise. And you know the rest. And now, the Rebel Spell!